There is a place that is spoken about only in whispers, a dark area that spawns the beginnings of urban legends, a place where anything can happen and usually does. During the light of day, it hides just outside of view, but when the sun goes down, spirits, creatures of the night, roam free, and things do go bump in the night. It is in every state and every country, and there is no escaping it, no matter how safe you feel behind your locked doors and latched windows. So we invite you to turn down the lights and turn up your radio while we join Dave Schrader and Tim Dennis, your hosts, on a journey into the darkness on the edge of town.
Hello and welcome. You're tuned into the best in paranormal talk radio. This is Darkness Radio. I'm your host, Dave Schrader. That guy over there, well, that's Tim Dennis, and this is Supernatural News, Parashare edition. Tomorrow, Tim, we're going to be talking with Denise Marie, a psychic medium friend of ours, and we've got a lot of great topics we'll discuss, everything from what to do if you're dealing with a special child that has abilities to what's it like on the other side. What are the different levels of death? Do we hang out here? Are we forced to hang out here? Do we move on to heaven immediately? Do we not pass go? Do we collect $200? That's what I want to know, Tim.
You know what's scary is if you don't mind me saying this just real quick. In Monopoly, you pass go, you collect $200, but in a pandemic, you get a $1,400 stimulus check. Does it seem now like Monopoly's outdated?
Does seem like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah. Well, but, you know, that stimulus check only comes once or twice a year and really amounts to nothing for most families.
Right. So that means it's even worse in Monopoly because you only pass go how many times in Monopoly?
It depends on who you are. I'm a hell of a roller. I'll pass it 20, 30 times.
What?
Yeah. Boom. Man, haven't you gotten into those marathon sessions where you cannot end a game of Monopoly?
No, we end it pretty quick.
Wow.
Otherwise,
you guys flipping tables, screaming at each other. Is that how it works out?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
It always ends that way. Yeah.
Well, let's start with a feel-good paranormal story today, Tim.
Okay.
A feel-good paranormal story. Dear Dave and Tim, here's my story. It's a feel-good paranormal story. That's how I knew it was a feel-good paranormal story, Tim. It says so right in the description.
Oh.
I'm a member of a small drum and bugle corps that marches in marches. I love this part of the email already. I'm a member of a small drug. My God, my mouth's not working at all now. I am a member of a small drum and bugle corps, then in parentheses, pronounced corps, that matches in local parades. So he made sure that I knew what CORPS sounds like, but then he tells me that he matches in local parades, Tim.
Ah, yes. Yeah.
Psh. What is that? You just walk around flinging lit matches at people?
Well, that's
Sign
fun.
me up.
Yeah. Good times.
They march in local parades and play for civic functions. Because we were started by members of veterans organizations, our uniforms are similar to those worn by the Army during World War II, including the helmet. Not the steel pot, but the liner underneath, made of a press board material that we could spray paint with a chrome paint. We would give a fresh, shiny coat to the helmets before most parades. Oftentimes, we would set them down on someone's sidewalk, spray away, let them dry for a few minutes, pick them up, and see a silver oval left on the sidewalk from the overspray. It was normal to see the silver ovals on someone's sidewalk from last year's parade. I'm sure the homeowners were left wondering how they got there. Well, one year, after our hometown Memorial Day parade, we reassembled at the cemetery to perform for the scheduled service. Many of our former members are buried there, so we will gather around one of their graves and hold our own little prayer service. It was a beautiful spring morning with a bright blue, freshly manicured green grass and a light breeze. This time we visited the grave of a well-liked member who had died suddenly about 20 years ago. After sharing some memories, laughing about the good times with him, and ending with a prayer, our little group of a dozen or so started to leave to get ready for our performance. I glanced back and saw the green grass over his grave and a silver oval. the same size and shape as the one left after spraying a helmet. It wasn't there before, and nobody could have done it without being seen. We were all surrounding that spot 5 seconds earlier. We could all see it, and one guy even put his helmet on it to verify it was the right size. I met this gentleman's sister a few years later and told the story to her. Her response was that he just wanted to let you guys know he's still with you. I thought that was the perfect explanation. Thanks, Tim and Dave. Keep up the what?
Oh,
Tim and Dave.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
Keep up the good work, Mark. Thank you, Tim. I guess he started it, dear Dave and Tim. I guess he could end it, Tim and Dave. I guess. He's got to. Thanks, Mark. We appreciate it. Dear Dave, you egotistical bastard. It's not always about you. It is. It's always about me. Just get it right. Understand. Hello, sir. That's how this one starts. Apparently, I'm talking to Marcy from the Peanuts cartoons. Hope you and Tim are doing well. I finally decided today I'm going to share one of a couple of things I've experienced in my life that after years of listening to this show, I feel is the appropriate place to do so. One of the experiences I'm going to share here, I've shared with a few others, and it is certainly the one that has stuck with me the majority of my life, and I still have dreams about it this day. This occurred when I was roughly 8 or 9 years old. I spent summers at my grandparents' house, which was located just a few miles out from Yoder, Wyoming, which, to give a reference, is just a short drive to Torrington, Wyoming. My grandfather was a ditch rider, and his job was to ensure that the farmers in Goshen County were receiving their water for their crops. So he was responsible for the canals and ditches that were in the area. And his company provided him with a little house that just sat across a dirt road from a large canal. There was a small utility shed in the yard that was a good distance from the house and a long time unused pig pen. There was also a chicken coop that was attached to a dilapidated old barn that sat close to the house. The yard was massive and enclosed by barbed wire fence that ran the majority of the property that was littered with old cars. And in the middle of the yard was a single light pole that had a small light at the top that at night would cast a relatively small circle of illumination on the ground, but would be the only visible light for miles. I've always been a bit of an American military history enthusiast, and as a child, I spent hours in the yard fighting countless wars against America's past enemies. Armed with my toy wooden musket, I'd fight the British, and then I'd beat them, of course. I'd take on the Confederates. I even fought the Nazis in that yard. It was my battlefield, and I was a soldier in general, and there were few enemies who could stand in my way. Thank you for your service, Quentin. We appreciate that. Even if it is just in your mind and in your yard, Don Quixote, we appreciate the work and effort. One evening after I had been asleep for some time, I woke to find the house completely dark, my throat incredibly dry. So I pulled myself out of bed, needing something to drink. The room I slept in there had previously belonged to my uncle, who had moved out and had his prior room on use when we, the grandkids, stayed over. There were 2 windows in the room, and one was near the foot of the bed, and it overlooked the yard, with the yard light almost center frame in it. As I passed that window, I briefly glanced out and then snapped my gaze back toward the direction of the yard light. There, in the center of the circle cast down by the light, was a man wearing what I can only assume was a colonial-era British soldier's uniform. He wore a tall cap that rounded at the top and had a long coat that hung down near his knees. He had long leggings or socks of some sort that went up almost nearly to his thighs. His coat and hat was adorned with some type of intricate design woven into it that I couldn't make out from my distance. He had a drum slung over his shoulder. He was absent of any color in his figure, almost like he had stepped off the screen of a black and white movie. He looked as if he had formed from the light he was standing in. However, he looked solid in form, though. I don't recall seeing his feet or any shoes or boots. The part of this that has kept this moment so clearly in my mind were his eyes. He had no iris, no pupils, just a white glow. Turn around, every now and then I feel a little bit lonely and I'm standing like a child. Turn around. Is that what you're picturing, Tim?
It wasn't, but
glowing
hey,
eyes in that video.
I thanks for clarifying. Yeah.
They weren't radiating or pulsating light, but the glow was intense and piercing. When I looked out that window, he was already staring at me. Turn around, bright eyes. Almost like he knew I was going to be there. And he was waiting. I looked away towards the bedroom door and into the darkness of the living room and beyond, and then looked back. He was still there, just staring, not moving or motioning, just staring with those white, glowing eyes. I closed my own eyes tight. I told myself this couldn't be real. When I opened them moments later, he was gone. An empty yard and that circle of light were all that were there. Frightened and overcome with confusion, I knew what I had just seen was something real and knew this hadn't been a dream. I ran into my grandparents' bedroom, woke them, and told them, to the best of my ability at that time, what I had just seen. Of course, I was told I'd had a bad dream. My grandma got up and got me a cup of water and sent me back to bed. I still remember her glancing out the kitchen window that also overlooked the yard as she filled my cup with water, looking for any expression on her face that she could see what I had seen, but she gave none. I never before or after had anything paranormal happen at that house, and it no longer stands as it was bulldozed years ago. Love the show, gents. Keep being badasses. That comes from Quentin. Turn around. Every now and then I feel a little bit lonely and I'm standing like a child. Thank you, Quentin. Give me a reason to go into my musical Tourette's.
I see that. Yeah.
That was a good story.
Yeah. Very good story. Yeah.
Be weird. See a guy out there staring there glowing white eyes at you.
Yeah.
All right, Tim, let's go to the news. An untimely passing. A man in his stride of life, Tim. Still so young. Prince Philip has passed away, Tim.
He was a spry young one, wasn't he?
Yeah. What, 2 weeks away from his 100th birthday?
Yeah. Well, not two. Well, I think it was a little more than 2 weeks. I think it was like a month or so. Yeah.
Quitter. What a quitter. Quitter.
Yeah.
Did you know that Prince Philip had a fascination with UFOs, Tim, and collected books about aliens?
I did not know that, Dave. No.
Bird watching, painting, naval history, and polo were just some of the Duke of Edinburgh's eclectic range of interests and hobbies. Well, Prince Philip certainly liked to keep himself busy, but watching out for UFOs might not be the first thing you'd expect him to be into. Turns out that the Duke was fascinated with close encounters and had amassed a pretty sizable collection of books on the subject. He was a regular subscriber to Flying Saucer Review and had given his former assistant, Sir Peter Horsley, carte blanche to collect stories about UFOs from the RAF. In his autobiography, Sounds from Another Room, Sir Peter, who served as the Duke's equerry from 1949 to 1956, said that he was asked to bring witnesses to Buckingham Palace for private discussions. Philip spent the summer of 2019 reading The Halt Perspective, which tells the story of Rendlesham Forest incident dubbed Britain's Roswell. On December 26th and 28th, the U.S. Air Force personnel, again at Royal Air Force Base Woodbridge, Suffolk, reported seeing strange lights in surrounding woodlands. As they went out to investigate, one serviceman claims they got within touching distance of a craft of unknown origin. The Duke had a number of other books on extraterrestrials in his collection, including Haunted Skies, the Encyclopedia of British UFOs. The title's author, a retired West Midlands detective, says the Duke had 12 of his books. He told the Eye, "I've got about 12 letters from the Duke's private secretary saying that the prince found the subject interesting. I'm quite proud of Prince Philip. Why shouldn't he have been interested in UFOs? Because for goodness sake, that is something that we should treat seriously rather than flippantly. It is a phenomenon that has baffled mankind for millennia. Even Prince Charles is interested in it, and Prince William, according to this article. The Duke's interest in UFOs was first sparked by his uncle, Lord Mountbatten. Mountbatten? I don't know how to say this. Lord Mountbatten. Sounds like an evil enemy of He-Man, doesn't it?
To me, it sounds like it might have been Ricardo Montalban's uncle.
Lord Mountbatten. He wrote an official report about a silver spaceship reportedly landing on his Broadlands estate in Romsey, Hampshire in 1955. The report, which was kept secret until after Lord Mountbatten's death in 1979, told how bricklayer Fred Briggs spotted the craft hovering above the ground. A figure dressed in overalls and a helmet was then said to have emerged from the bottom of the vehicle before Briggs was knocked off his bike and pinned to the ground by an unseen force. 2016, Nick Pope, who ran the Ministry of Defense's UFO project, told the Daily Star that Philip at one time was absolutely fascinated with extraterrestrial activity, Tim. He said the royal interests in UFOs are extremely difficult for us at the MOD, you know me, because our policy was to downplay the true extent of our interests and involvements in UFOs.
They said, "Oh, Philip, you must be out your mind."
We routinely told Parliament, the media, and the public that the subject was of very limited interest and no defense significance. The irony was that we were all crown servants and that our ultimate bosses were fascinated by a subject we were actively trying to debunk. In his book, Sir Peter, that sounds like a horrible name to be known as. Him and Sir Deck must not be happy.
Depends on what business you're in. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
In his book, Sir Peter, who went on to become an RAF commander, claims that in November of 1954 he had an encounter with an alien called Mr. Janus.
Oh, come on.
Who was able to read his mind. The author said he didn't say he was a visitor from another planet, but I had that impression. I believe he was here to observe us. I never saw him again. I've no qualms about the reaction to my experience with Mr. Janus.
Sounds like a character from a Prince song.
Mr. J. Anus? I don't care what people think. It was what happened. Sir Peter says Mr. Janus wanted to meet Prince Philip, who he described as a great man of vision. So there you have it, Tim.
So Sir Peter and Mr. J. Anus got together. They were a perfect fit.
You know, Tim,
huh?
Timmy, Tim,
yeah?
Tim,
mm-hmm.
Timmy, Tim. Mm-hmm. We have a new contender for the end of the world.
Oh, what's that, Dave?
Well, zombie apocalypse most likely going to be what wipes us out, or maybe
Probably
AI,
not.
as Tim likes to fantasize
likely,
about. It could
yeah.
be monkeys with guns.
I don't know.
But listen to this, and this comes from a very reliable news source, Men's Health magazine, Tim.
Okay,
I don't know why you're laughing. This is,
all that is a bunch of muscleheads getting together taking pictures of themselves, but go ahead.
No, this is a co-founder of Neuralink, the brain implant startup that has recently embedded a chip into a monkey's brain, allowing the primate to play video games, has suggested we have the technology to build a real Jurassic Park. But in an upset, Elon Musk, the company's most famous co-founder, wasn't the one who made the attention-grabbing comments. In a tweet, biomedical engineer Max Hodak wrote, "We could probably build Jurassic Park if we wanted to. Wouldn't be genetically authentic dinosaurs, but maybe 15 years of breeding and engineering to get super exotic novel species. Biodiversity, anti-fragility, is definitely valuable. Conservation is important and makes sense. But why do we stop there? Why don't we more intentionally try to generate novel diversity? Is Hodak right to suggest that not only could we build such a park, but also fill it with super exotic novel dinosaur species?" In Jurassic Park, Steven Spielberg's 1993 smash film adaptation, of course, of Michael Crichton's novel, dinosaurs are made by splicing genetic material found in fossilized amber with amphibian genes in order to make a complete genome for each species. And 28-year-old spoiler alert, life finds a way, Tim.
Does it?
To let the dinosaurs breed on their own and take over. Jeff Goldblum's iconic chaos theory professor, Dr. Ian Malcolm, says early on that this project will be a disaster. And basically the rest of the movie is proving him right. But we digress. Back to Hodak's casual tweeting about a real Jurassic Park. With what we know today, could we indeed make dinosaurs? To start, there are practical questions about the technology, and then there are broad moral and ethical questions that are far more wide-ranging. If the dinosaurs wouldn't be genetically authentic like the ones in the real Jurassic Park, made by splicing different genes together, then creating them in the same as making any other kind of life form from scratch. It's a step beyond making a genetically identical clone of a living species. It's even a step beyond cloning an otherwise extinct animal using a sample of genetic material. If that idea just made your blood run a little bit cold, you're not alone. The idea of humans making new super exotic novel life forms runs counter to many people's values based on both religious and philosophical ideas. Hodek excuses this as seeking out so-called novel diversity, an area and an idea that could hypothetically be good, but could just as easily go horribly wrong. I think so. We've got 5 movies to prove it, Tim. Now, in Jurassic Park, the changes are illustrated with symbolic examples. An ill Triceratops turns out to have eaten a poisonous plant that no one on the park staff thought twice about planting. And by underestimating the power of the T-Rex and the intellect of the velociraptors, the park staffers end up unleashing both creatures on their human guests. These central conflicts aren't even related to the risks of the novel genetic splicing technology at the heart of the story we're telling. It's all different versions of the law of unintended consequences. Could there be upsides to making whole new life forms? Sure, there could be upsides to almost anything, but think about examples where someone would say you were playing God, and think about the outcomes of those activities. It's just, it's a huge, huge risk to insert a brand new thing into a food chain or any scenario. So how could we decide if it was worthwhile to build a real Jurassic Park? In perhaps the most iconic moment in the film, Dr. Malcolm says, your scientists were so preoccupied with whether or not they could that they didn't stop to think if they should. Is there a should that could be worth it? Think about the situation here. Maybe we find out that dinosaurs have genetic material that makes them immune to cancer in a way that could work as a treatment for people. In that case, maybe scientists would patch and clone some animals to use the way we use the blood of horseshoe crabs, for example, to help make vaccines. Whether you agree with this idea or not, you can see that someone could argue for it and make a compelling case for cloning the dinosaurs we need. But that's not the spirit of the fake Jurassic Park, where the goal is to create an ultra-luxe destination for extremely wealthy people, the demographic that's currently signing up for the once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to travel to space with Musk, for example. And that's not the image that Hodek's comment about super exotic novel species brings to mind. I don't know. Well, here's something. Obviously, if we could, create new food sources, right? New meat food sources, new plant food sources from genetically tinkering and rebuilding, it might be helpful, because I got to guess at a point we're going to just deplete our natural resources.
Yeah, we will eventually come to that point, sure. And yeah, you would have to, but then the answer there, which they've already come up with, is to genetically grow meat, which they've, been showing.
But that's gross. It's like scraping your cheek, and then they, after 12 weeks, you have a burger, a me burger. I don't know if
I wouldn't go for that, but I think they could do the exact same thing with a cow or a chicken or genetically clone those same things, which I think other people, although they may get creeped out with it, would be able to settle with. I think much the same way as you can, and I'm not going to get into an ethics battle here, but I think, you can kind of say out of sight, out of mind. I'm okay with slaughterhouses because I don't have to watch them. It's that same battle. I'm okay with a genetically cloned chicken because I didn't have to be there for the cloning process. I didn't have to watch it. So I can eat a genetically cloned chicken because I didn't have to watch it being made.
That's how I feel about kids' birthday parties. I don't mind if they exist as long as I don't have to be there to watch them.
Exactly. You didn't have to put it together. You don't have to drink the new orange drink at McDonald's because you didn't have to watch it be stirred and put together. You don't know what's in it.
I love the orange drink at McDonald's.
It's tasty, but you don't know what's in it.
It's orange high C, Tim. It's back.
Well, you think it is, but
stop it.
There may be other things in it.
Well, since we're talking dinosaurs and prehistoric times, Tim, we have another story. The headline, I gotta admit, when I read something like this, I don't go much further than the headline because I try to imagine what they could possibly know that would tell them this. This is from the Business Insider, Microsoft News. Prehistoric cavemen starved themselves of oxygen to induce hallucinations and inspire their ancient paintings, according to a study. So I sit there and I'm like, how do you know that? How do you know that they're like deprived? What are they, like self-erotic asphyxiation? dropping some art on us that way?
They sent Michael Hutchins back in time?
Yeah, right. Well, according to this article, prehistoric cave dwellers living in Europe purposefully starved themselves of oxygen to hallucinate while creating their decorative wall paintings, a groundbreaking new study has found. Researchers have been questioning for years why so many of the world's oldest paintings were located in often pitch-black tunnel systems far away from cave entrances. But a recent study by Tel Aviv University now reveals that the location was deliberate because it induced oxygen deprivation and caused cavemen to experience a state of hypoxia. Now, hypoxia can bring about symptoms including shortness of breath, headaches, confusion, rapid heartbeat, which can be led to feelings of euphoria and near-death experiences and out-of-body sensations. I did not know that hypoxia is the technical term, Tim, for how I feel after eating at White Castle.
Well, yeah, it is. Yeah. I mean,
shortness of breath, headaches, confusion, rapid heartbeat, and feelings of euphoria, especially if I've been drinking that night.
No, you release your own gases, you will choke yourself out. Just saying.
The team of researchers believes it would have been very similar to when you're taking drugs. It appears that upper Paleolithic people barely used the interior of deep caves for daily domestic activities. Such activities were mostly performed at open-air sites, rock shelters, or cave entrances. That's what the study says, according to CNN. While depictions were not created solely in the deep and dark parts of the caves, images at such locations are a very impressive aspect of cave depictions, and thus the focus of the study, it adds. According to Ron Baraki, the co-author of the study, the cavemen used fire to light up the caves, which would simultaneously reduce oxygen levels. Painting in those conditions was done deliberately as a means of connecting to the cosmos, the researcher says. How do they know that? How do they know, like, Ugg and Jug are like, me build fire, me connect to cosmos? Do you think that they did that, or do you think it was just a byproduct of, hey, Ugg, we go paint inside cave? Okay.
Yeah, I don't think the cavemen were smart enough to know that they were strangling themselves out. I just don't.
They did create beautiful art.
Yeah,
the art is pretty amazing.
Yeah,
and they could build fire, so they're smarter than maybe we're giving them credit for. But I don't know. Maybe it was more like, "Hello, Ugg.
Yeah,
I say we head in and paint. Let's do this. Whilst I'm painting, you clutch my throat and starve me of oxygen. We'll see what happens. What kind of great wonder I'm able to paint on these walls.
Let's have a party, old man.
It's a choking art party."
Choking art party.
Right. See, we're doing it these days, Tim. It's just those wine and paint things that people do. Now we're just fancier about it. We're drinking paint. Back in the days, Ugg and Zug would just choke each other out while they were painting on a wall.
Yeah. I don't think they were that brilliant. I really don't. Yeah. I don't think they went straight from cave paintings to the Sistine Chapel. I don't think.
While depictions were not created solely in the deep, dark parts of the caves. It's just these locations are very impressive aspects of cave depictions and are thus the focus of the study. According to Ron Baraki, like I said, they would do this in these areas to try to connect to the cosmos. It was used to get connected with things, Barkai told CNN, adding that cave painters often thought of a rock face as a portal connecting their world with the underworld, which was associated with prosperity and growth. The researcher also suggested the cave paintings could have been used as part of a kind of initiation rite. How do we sign up, Tim, that you and I can get money to do studies and pontificate on why things are the way they are? How does this guy know that they're trying to communicate with the cosmos and that they were using them as a portal to the underworld? Are artists that are so inclined and see something where you and I see nothing? They see you and I see a rock wall. They see a canvas. You and I see a piece of burnt stick and monkey feces. They see a palette of paint and a brush.
We got to get in on this cash. That's all I know. We could be creative.
Right.
Yeah.
They're paying people to watch spider monkeys masturbate. Why aren't you and I getting gigs like that?
I don't know. I think we're not applying to the right sources with the right story. I think, by gosh, we ought to take this creativity that we're doing theater of the mind with, and we ought to apply it to writing grants. Writing in for grants.
We would like to explore this subject of Bigfoot and the transcendental nature of masturbating with rocks.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that sounds painful.
Right. But it's transcendental. He's helping to connect to the cosmos. We could throw out different topics, Tim. I don't understand why science won't pay us to do that.
Right. Yeah. Well, I don't either.
Yeah. Something to consider. Right. Here's something to consider, Tim.
Okay.
Are you ready for this?
I'm ready.
All right. Here we go. Headline: Man's 30-year werewolf hunt after scary run-in with car-sized dog with human face.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. Exclusive granddad Colin was bitten by an obsession to find the creatures from folklore after an unforgettable experience. Let's find out a little bit about it. By the light of a full moon, Colin Kelty saw something so terrifying that it changed his life. In the distance, he spotted a beast running. He believed it was a deer until it stood up on two legs. I won't lie, I was petrified. The hairs on the back of my neck were standing up, said Colin, age 54. The truck driver was so sure it was a werewolf that he spent 30 years hunting the spooky lycanthrope. Granddad Colin was bitten by an obsession to find the creatures from folklore after an unforgettable experience in Hatfield, South Yorks in October of 1990. Now, Colin, who is divorced, insists he's not crying werewolf. Oh, clever. When he recounts the events of that night, he said, I could see something running in the distance. It was too big to be a fox. Initially, I thought it was a cow or a deer until I got up closer and stood up. It was too damn big to be a dog. As it was before the age of smartphones, Colin of Beeford, East Yorks, did not get a photo of the beast, but he did record what it looked like. He said, I have drawn a picture so that people can expect what to see if they came across a werewolf. Now, be forewarned, I did draw this picture in an oxygen-deprived cave with a fire going. No, he didn't say that. But of course, it is much scarier in the flesh. Yes, I would guess that a giant werewolf would be much scarier in the flesh than this janky-looking thing this dude drew. Wow, this werewolf does not look all that intimidating. He just looks like he spends way too much on the upper body at the gym.
Oh, well.
And forgets about the lower quadrant. Yes, the pictures will be up, folks. Go to darknessradio.com, click on the news tab. You'll find it all there.
Probably should have published it in Men's Health magazine. I mean, that they'd probably admire that.
His last experience of a werewolf was in September of 2015 in Hornsey, East Yorks, again, under a full moon. He said, I couldn't see a thing, but I could hear thuds. It was terrifying. I shouted out, hello! But I had no response. I then ran for my life as I had a horrible feeling. Colin said a huge 3-fingered handprint was left on his car window, but the photo he said he took has since been lost. Convenient, Colin. He now has maps, lights, and walkie-talkies to help his hunts. An 8-foot werewolf known as Old Stinker.
No.
That's what we nicknamed my farty dad, to be honest with you, Old Stinker. An 8-foot werewolf known as Old Stinker is said to roam the Yorkshire wolds with sightings since the 18th century. In 2016, an animal rescue worker claimed she had come face to face with the beast. Gemma Waller, who was driving 2 pals in Halsham, East York, said, it looked like a big dog, probably bigger than my car, but it had a human face. Colin has been criticized for his hobby, but will not give up. He said he has been contacted with sightings all over the UK, including 12 just in the past year. All the people can't be lying. Something incredible is out there, and I'm going to find it, Colin added. I'd have laughed if someone said there were werewolves in Britain before my first encounter.
Oh, Commander.
I knew that was coming. Quite. It's a heady situation.
Oh, Commander.
Good grief. That's crazy. Werewolf. I wonder if it's an American werewolf in London out there.
No.
Just wondering. Wow, werewolf to London. All right, you ready for some ghostly tales, Tim?
Ready.
All right. And stay tuned, folks. Stay tuned, because a little bit later on in the program, there's a brand new Theater of the Mind, but there is a story, Tim, Sea Serpents Exposed. And I mean that. Sea Serpents Exposed, a little later on today's program. You're going to want to stay tuned for that. But first, a music box seems to move by itself in haunting footage taken by ghost hunters. A team of ghost hunters captured the moment of a music box moving by itself while on the hunt for paranormal activity in a famous Liverpool pub. They say the movement of the music box in Peter Cavanagh's pub in Toxteth. Where are you from, Toxteth? It wasn't a slight vibration, Tim. It was a movement over a period of 20 seconds. The team, consisting of Chris Cummings and Adam Goings, Cummings and Goings, actually it's Chris Cummings and Adam Billings, said there was no way they could manipulate the movement and there was no other explanation other than poltergeist activity. The paranormal investigators who document and post their finds to the Haunted Scouse YouTube channel confirmed no one was in the room at the time of the movement. The team used their channel to explore the history of pubs, cemeteries, and other parts of Merseyside. In the latest episode, the ghost hunting team went along to Peter Cavanagh's pub, run by landlady Rita Smith, which is confusing. You would think it would be Peter Cavanagh that runs Peter Cavanagh's pub.
Well, yeah.
It wasn't. Rita allowed the pair to film in the building, which is said to be over 170 years old. In the video, Chris can be seen leaving a room with the music box left on the table and a camera set up to record any potential evidence. Speaking to the Echo, Chris said, "We literally had no idea anything had happened until later. If you look carefully, you can see a light, which is off the illuminator, off the camera. You can see it reflecting back off the lid of the music box, and that's the key to seeing how much it actually does turn to the side. Crucially, it also slides across by an inch or two as well. So it's a really intriguing double movement. I think it's second best to actually capturing a full apparition on camera, which I don't think anyone has ever done." Yes, you should watch season 2 of The Holzer Files on Discovery Plus, and now available in Discovery Plus UK. It's either available now or coming in May. I can't remember. It's one of those two, Tim.
Oh, okay.
That's the dream for any paranormal team, to capture a spirit or a ghost, just anything on camera that would be classified as an apparition. If you can't capture that, the next best thing you want is some kind of poltergeist activity, and that's exactly what we would class this as. Chris and Adam say there is no explanation to the movement of the music box and a ghost or spirit contributed to its action. Chris added, "There's no other explanation for it. The table was flat. They're all bolted to the floor, so it's not like you can move the table. We've gone through it in our minds. What possibly could have happened to move that music box by itself? We have used the music box in a number of different locations like the St. James Cemetery and have had nothing happen. We've even had it on a marble sarcophagus, which is as smooth as you can get a surface, and it doesn't even slide to the side. The movement that we actually got in Peter Cavanaugh's is not like a slight little movement, which could be a vibration. It moves over the period of about 20 seconds several times." Chris is adamant this is genuinely something that happened, with the aim of his team not to trick anyone. He said, "Part of the full episode, Adam does a full walkthrough so the viewer can see. We're in a snug one. He walks through the bar into the second snug. We do that so that we can show the viewer the layout of the premises. Once we have done that, the viewer can see I clearly walk away from the music box, and Adam is clearly in the same room as me. There is no way you could manipulate it to move in that way." Chris believes the music box is roughly 60 to 70 years old, but is unsure of its past. He added, "The music box is something I got from a charity shop, so it's had a history in somebody's house. I just bought it because I thought it would make a good trigger object to potentially get interaction with a spirit. I have no idea of its history, and I don't think that it has any links to Peter Cavanagh's. But whatever the history is, I would say it's at least 60 to 70 years of age going off the style of the music. It plays the older style of music. I think you refer to it as hip-hop, Tim? Sometimes that's the best way to try and appeal to the spirits because you don't know how old the spirits are you're trying to make contact with." Chris revealed the landlady of the pub, Rita Smith, told the story of a previous spirit sighting within the building. He added, "The main one being the spirit of a little girl in the main room, and when I showed her our footage, I think she was pleasantly surprised." So we've got that link up for that news story. You can see the clip of the video and find their full YouTube video links there as well. Just go to darknessradio.com, click on the news tab to find that and so much more. Stay tuned. We've got more coming your way today on the Sea Serpents Exposed episode of Darkness Radio. All right, we're back. This is Darkness Radio. In just a little bit, we've got a brand new Theater of the Mind coming up. It's not too late to make your donations for the Polar Plunge and help the Special Olympics. If you're interested in helping me help my son so that he can raise the much-needed funds for the Special Olympics, especially in a tight year like it's been. I know it's hard on a lot of you, but it's also hard on these Special Olympians that need every bit of help that they can get to make sure that they're able to compete and train, get the uniforms and travel that they need. Just email me, dave@darknessradio.com, put in the tab Special Olympics, and I will send you the link. You can make a donation. We're doing great this year. We're not where we had hoped to be, but we're doing great. But every penny would help. So email me if you're interested in being a part of that. Tim, let's stay over across the sea.
Okay.
For this next story. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
A Leicestershire ghost hunter who recorded paranormal voices at the Belper Arms is now setting his sights on a haunted home in Wigston. Will Hammond, who runs his own Haunted Hammonds YouTube channel, has been exploring the paranormal since his mom passed away in 1999. He's fascinated by the country's most haunted locations and allows visitors to follow his captured footage. His latest investigation will be at a home in South Wigston, where unexplainable things have been reported recently, including a ghost who has repeatedly been seen with its arms and legs wrapped around a little girl who lives there. That's pretty creepy. Will told Leicestershire Live, "The things that the residents have told me cannot be explained by normal logic. They have reported things like taps turning on by themselves and figures appearing out of nowhere. One night, they were upstairs in bed and their electronic Kindle was downstairs. They heard music coming from downstairs and they went down to check what it was. They discovered the Kindle had been turned on with an app open and playing music. But most disturbing is that they saw what they thought was a figure with its hands and legs wrapped around their daughter." The 29-year-old Blaby ghost hunter is now set to make a fresh YouTube video on the haunted house after taking his spirit box and other paranormal equipment into the home. Earlier this year, Will visited Leicestershire's oldest pub, the Belper Arms, where he recorded a voice saying, "Leave ya." Since then, the investigations have been limited due to lockdown restrictions. He is fascinated by the country's most haunted locations and allows viewers to follow his captured footage. Will has plans to investigate ghostly legends in Leicestershire at places like Belgrave Hall and King Power Stadium. The ghost hunter will also take his camera and equipment to Leicester's famously haunted Belgrave Hall this month to explore the reports of a Victorian lady which is said to roam the property. The hall has always had a reputation for being haunted, and it hit international media headlines in 1998 when the alleged ghost of a white lady was captured on CCTV. It is said that the lady is often heard walking around upstairs, and staff have reported the aroma of fresh bread, stewed fruit, or gingerbread when nothing has been cooked. Will said, "You just don't know what you're walking into when you visit each time, even when you've been there before. And of course, some locations have very little activity, but I will never take anything for views or subscribers. All I want is to catch good and real evidence, and I'm so thrilled by my increasing following." Will also plans to revisit the old Edwardian School in Long Eaton, Nottingham, where he had previously recorded a number of spooky goings-ons. He added, "We had so many things happen when we investigated there. There were loud bangs, doors closing, and I witnessed a huge shadow person. It has been reported that the figure of a young girl wearing a white gown has also been seen early morning at that school. Whistles and frightening groans have also been heard in the corridors, as well as small objects like old springs have been thrown. All of the findings of the paranormal investigations will be captured and posted on Haunted Hammond's Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube pages. Yes, this story is also up, Tim, so people can go find it and follow along at home. That's how I work things. I make it easier that way.
Very cool.
Hi, Dave and Timmy D. Hi.
Hiya.
I've been listening to Darkness Radio since 2013, and I love it. I'm a dog walker in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, and love to listen to your podcasts while I run with the doggos. You guys are absolutely hilarious, and the dogs quite often look at me funny when I burst out laughing randomly. Thank you so much for your amazing podcast. You add that much more joy to my day. I get excited when I see Darkness Radio pop up on my feed. I listen to many different podcasts, and yours is by far my fave. Please never stop. Oh, and ignore the haters. You will always have loyal, devoted fans such as myself. Anyways, it says, I used to work as a kennel tech at a pet store here in Saskatoon back in 1999, and one of my duties was caring for the animals. Very early in the morning before the store opened, when I was alone, quite often strange things would happen in the store. The puppies would often go nuts and bark at something unseen. The parrots, oh yes, Tim, the parrots would talk randomly, as if they were conversing with someone unseen. I would see something dark in the corner with my eye as I walked down the aisles, and often see a reflection of a form in the aquariums. A couple of times, I would hear a crash as if something heavy fell in the stockroom and in the aisles. And when I would investigate, there'd be nothing out of sorts. The fire alarm would go off randomly and inexplicably. It always felt as if there was someone or something there with me. And it got to the point where I would need someone to keep me company because I was that afraid. Other kennel techs that worked there would have similar experiences. Before it was a pet store, it was a Blockbuster Video, and strange phenomena would occur with employees then. Anyway, just thought I would share my story and express my gratitude for your amazing podcast. Love you guys. And that comes from Lindsay Honstra in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, close to the Canadian-Mexican border, she says.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Some excellent Canadian bacon tacos up there.
How erotic.
Yes.
I mean, exotic.
That too. Yeah. Just one little tip for Lindsay. Probably want to quell the voracious laughter around the doggos when they're trying to relieve themselves. They probably think you're grading their activity.
Their productivity.
Yeah, yeah.
Hi, Tim and Dave. What the hell?
Huh?
How to start out, hi, Tim and Dave.
Well, people have their, ways of addressing things. Mm-hmm.
Horrible people. First, I'd like to say that I'm sorry you're getting such negative feedback. Guess haters gonna hate, and unfortunately, there's always going to be people who want to bring others down. Just know that you have made such a positive impact in my life, and I'm sure that's true for many others. I would also be interested in Dave's package. The one I've been hearing so much about. Well, thank you. I really do want your package. The email continues.
It's a small one, though.
Christine, I'd love you to have my package. And thank you for writing in. And if people would like to get their hands on my package, all they have to do is email me, dave@darknessradio.com, and say, I want Dave's package. Wow. Let me get my hands on Dave's package, something like that. We'll send you out the invoice. Otherwise, you could just go to darknessradio.com, click on the shop tab, and scroll down the page, and we make them available directly on the website so you can find them a little bit easier right there.
So forward. Just so forward.
I put up pictures of my packages there. Yeah, I want people to be able to see it in all its glory because they get a lot. I'm not going to brag, but my package is pretty impressive, Tim. They get my book, The Other Side, A Guide to Ghost Hunting and the Paranormal, signed by me. They get a Holzer Files card. It's like a 4x6 or 6x6 or 8x22, or I can't remember the size. I'm not good with measurements, Tim. But it's an autographed Holzer Files card signed by me. Then they also get a Darkness Radio car decal. They get that entire set for $20 plus like $5 shipping and handling. Not a bad deal. Or if you just want the book, you can get the book for $15 signed, sealed, delivered. I'm yours. And $5 shipping and handling. Or if you want just the decals, those are $10 plus shipping and handling. And yes, if you get multiples in the same package, we'll save on that. But do me a favor, if you're contacting us from Canada or Belgium or Australia or England or some faraway place like Texas, just let us know in advance because the price for shipping probably will be much different for you because of where you're located. So These are for the continental United States, so just be aware of that. That $5 shipping price is what I'm getting at, Tim.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
On a serious note, I have a Parashare for you, Christine from New Jersey continues. Before I tell you my story, let me give you some background on my house and set the scene. It was built in the 1950s in a small lake community. It sits atop a mountain that can actually see New York City on super clear days. My property sits on a main road with woods in the backyard that go for miles. Across the street used to be an empty lot, but now has a house on it. One of the first families that lived in my house had several children, one of them being a 12-year-old boy who wound up murdering an 8-year-old neighborhood girl and dumped her body across the street by the empty lot and covered her with sticks and leaves. This was quite an unfortunate and brutal murder, especially coming from a 12-year-old boy. Luckily, they found her body the following day and took the boy into custody. I'm not sure what happened to him afterwards, but I think the family of the girl stayed on that road till just a few years ago. Now, fast forward to August of last year, 2020, we had a storm that knocked out the power for a solid week. It was so hot upstairs that we decided to sleep downstairs in the living room, which was the original part of the house. Around 1 a.m., I was awoken to the sound of what sounded like a little girl speaking to someone. Initially, I thought to myself that I must have been dreaming and brushed it off, but a few seconds later, I hear the same voice. But this time, I could hear her coming from the conjoining room. I tried to hear if there was a second voice, but unfortunately I could not. However, hers was becoming louder and louder. And then finally I heard her say, "Oh yeah," loud and clear. I knew this time it wasn't a dream. It was so clean and crisp, I can still hear it in my head now. It freaked me out so bad that I couldn't fall asleep for almost another hour. I have since moved from my childhood home, and I can't help but worry that she's stuck there in that house with God knows what. I've always felt a dark presence in that house, and a part of me thinks maybe I should travel back there and see if I can connect with her and possibly help her move on. I know that if it was my child, I would want someone to do the same. I've attached the article of the New York Times case in case you're interested. Thanks for reading my story, and I'll keep sending more when I can. Shall we take a quick look at that news story, Tim?
Sure.
It's a sad story. Girl 8 found slain in Jersey. Rockaway Township, New Jersey, December 7th. An 8-year-old girl was found slain in the morning in the White Meadow Lake Wee area here, and a 13-year-old boy has been arrested. The body of the little girl, Danielle Hunter, daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Robert Hunter, was found covered with leaves, sticks, and debris in a thickly wooded and mountainous area overlooking the lake behind her home. Donald G. Colester, the Morris County prosecutor, reported that while the exact cause of death has not been determined, the girl's throat had been slashed and there were indications of sexual misconduct and a severe beating. A report from the county medical examiner is expected tomorrow. That is heartbreaking. Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you feel you could do anything, just going out to that property and praying and asking for that spirit to be sent on, I think that wouldn't be a bad plan. But wow, what a crazy tale. Thank you very much for sharing that with us. So strange, dude.
Yeah.
All right, we've got more news stories to share, Timothy.
All right.
Tim. By the way, Aaron Elder last week, who wrote into us about the bloody handprint on the door.
Yes.
And claims to be some bodybuilder, poser, finally sent us the pictures. She is everything she said. She sent us the pictures of her posing.
Yep.
Knocking it out of the ballpark, and sent us a picture of the bloody little handprint on the door.
Yeah.
Very, very creepy. Not her posing, but the bloody handprint on the door. So thank you, Aaron. Yeah. Thank you for coming back at us. She says, Dave and Tim, I heard my story on Darkness Radio. I'm totally fangirling over here. I can't believe I forgot to attach the image. I'll do that now so you can see it. Bloody handprint door image. And I'm cracking up that somehow my phone autocorrected the word ladies at the end. I honestly didn't even notice that happened. I wrote that really early pre-gym and wasn't paying full attention, obviously. Seriously, you gentlemen made my day. D-A-A-A-Y, Tim.
Right.
You made my day.
Day.
And I'll attach a competition image just so you know I wasn't lying about competing. You guys are the best, and that comes from Aaron. And we'll post Aaron's bikini muscle picture. No, we won't. But thank you for proving to us that you are who you say you are, Aaron. Did you get the pictures, Tim? Did you see the bloody handprint?
I did see the bloody handprint. Yes, I did. Yep. And
both pictures, very cool.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing them with us. Yeah.
And I know if I don't believe Aaron's email, she'll whoop that ass. Yeah, she definitely has been working out.
She's in shape.
Yep.
Eesh. She'd kick my ass in 8 seconds flat, I'm guessing. 8 seconds flat, Tim.
Yep.
Let's see. Where shall we go? Oh, how about this? This is an exciting news story, Tim. I was so excited to see a story like this pop up. Guess what it's about? Zombie apocalypse, Tim.
Okay.
No, it's not.
Okay.
It's not. Bizarre tale of Bold Street. Time slips that transported people into the past. Liverpool has its fair share of urban legends. A lot of the stories today coming from overseas, Tim. I don't know if you're picking up on that.
I am picking up on that, yeah.
Apparently ghosts in America are too lazy and COVID fat that they can't get up and haunt as well as they once did.
I was going to say we had a holiday recently, Dave. I don't know if you know that. They probably took the weekend off.
Yeah. Liverpool has its fair share of urban legends, spooky tales, and local myths, but perhaps none more puzzling than time slips of Bold Street. Over the years, a number of people claim to have slipped into another time period while walking along the city center street. Bizarrely, those who claim to have time traveled along Bold Street were able to recount specific details from the past that they encountered during the experience. There are areas all over Liverpool and Merseyside that seem to have time slip hotspots, but the highest saturation of time anomalies is the thoroughfare of Bold Street in the heart of the city. One of the first time slips I investigated, according to the article's author, who I will mention here, is Tom Sleeman and Amelia Bona. But I think it's Tom Sleeman who did the most of the investigation on this. One of the first time slips I investigated concerned an old off-duty policeman from Melling named Frank. One Saturday in July of 1996, Frank and his wife Carol visited Liverpool to do some shopping. At Central Station, the couple split up. Carol went to Dillon's bookshop in Bold Street to purchase a copy of Irvine Welsh's book, Train Spotting, and Frank went to went to a record store, rather, in Ranelagh Street to look for a CD. About 20 minutes later, he walked up the incline near the Lyceum, which leads onto Bold Street, intending to meet up with his wife in the bookshop, when he noticed he had somehow entered a dead spot of quietness. Suddenly, a small box van that looked like something out of the 1950s sped across the path, beeping its horn as it narrowly missed him. Frank noted that the van had the name Kaplan's emblazoned on its side. Frank crossed the road and saw that Dillon's bookshop was no longer there. In its place stood a store with the name Cripps over its two entrances. The policeman was understandably confused. He looked in the window of Cripps and saw no books on display but women's handbags and shoes. The policeman turned around and saw that the people on Bold Street were wearing clothes that would have been in vogue in the 40s and 50s. The men wore trilbies and long overcoats, and the women wore scarves, berets, pillbox, and cartwheel hats. And most of the ladies also wore gloves. I don't know about you, Tim, but I that's the part of the past I wish I could be a part of. When you go to the movie theater and people are dressed up for a night.
Yeah.
Right? Wear suits and ties and dresses, and you're all decked out for the night instead of, half shirts and slouchy jeans. And I wish I could have been there just to witness that. Everybody wearing hats and looking fancy.
Well, it used to be that it was a big deal. Yeah, but whenever something is new, it in the latest thing, then people tend to feel it's a deal worth dressing up for. I guess. Yeah,
I think we should get back to that. I think people should start taking pride in going out and being seen in public again.
People don't even do that for Broadway plays anymore.
I know,
and you pay a lot for a Broadway play. It's. Yeah, I think it's a statement on society, though. I think since the introduction of casual dress at jobs, and we're much more
Fridays.
And casual Fridays. I mean, it started with casual Fridays, but then business casual at jobs, and the idea is we've become more dressed down as a society. We take things more casually. We don't enforce professionalism.
That's, as I sit here with one sock on and my underwear and ripped t-shirt doing this radio show.
Right on. Yeah. I mean, why not? Be comfortable.
I am.
Be yourself.
Anyway, the possibility that he had somehow walked into the Bold Street of 40-odd years ago dawned on the policeman. Frank sighted a girl of about 20 dressed in the clothes of the mid-1990s girl, hipsters in a lime-colored sleeveless top. The bag she carried had the name Miss Selfridge's on it, which really reassured the policeman that he was still somehow partly in 1996. He smiled at the girl as she walked past him and entered Cripps. As Frank followed her, the whole interior of the building changed in a flash to the interior of Dylan's bookshop. The policeman was back in his own timeline. He grabbed the girl by the arm of the entrance at the bookshop and asked her, Did you see that then? And the girl calmly said, Yeah, I thought it was a new shop that had just opened. I was going to look at the clothes, but now it's a bookshop. The girl just chuckled, shook her head, and walked out again. When Fred told his wife about the incident, she said that she had not noticed anything strange, but Frank was really adamant that he had not hallucinated the episode. I gave an account of the strange time slip on the Billy Butler show, and within minutes people were ringing me and Billy to tell us that in the late 50s and 60s there had been a store called Cripps in the exact locations where Dylan's and later Waterstone's bookshop now stands. And there had also been a firm called Kaplan's in existence around the same time. What's more, I also received letters and phone calls from listeners who had experienced strange things in that part of Bold Street where the policeman had stepped into another era. People from all walks of life claimed to have experienced time slips on or near Bold Street since Frank's unexplained stroll in the past. That's a cool story.
Yeah.
That's bonkers. Could you even imagine that? I would love to have like a major time slip like that. I had my time slip. I've described it on the show. I was popping in and out of alternate reality. But it'd be one thing to be like walking down the street and all of a sudden it's 1950s Minneapolis. Boy, would I be in my Ouija board T-shirt and my old man's shoes, and I would just stand out like a sore thumb.
That's the first thing I would get paranoid about if I had a time slip is what I was wearing. Because you don't fit in. You would think, well, won't all these people look at me and know that I'm not from here? That's my first paranoia about being caught in a time slip is do I stand out like a sore thumb and will they notice that, I'm not from here? I've never had a time slip. It'd be interesting. I would love to have one.
Speaking of standing out like a sore thumb, we're going to come back in a few moments as sea serpents are exposed, Tim. For the first time on Darkness Radio, sea serpents exposed. But first, an interesting and familial little theater of the mind. This is going to be done a little differently. I gave Tim the challenge. I actually sat with my stepbrother, AJ, a week ago or so, and had him tell me a ghost story that happened to him. So this is him telling me the ghost story. I've just had Tim add a few little elements and some music behind it to amp it up. So it's kind of a different one told by the experiencer to me. And you get a chance to hear that. This is a brand new theater of the mind.
All right, here we are. It is Parashare, and it's time to share some paranormal experiences. So I thought, who better to share with than my newly uncovered brother. AJ and I are in Florida taking care of our father who just had a second COVID shot. And as we've gotten to know each other, he has some ghost stories to share. And I've told him I don't want to hear about it unless I can record it. So being the big brother, I've forced him to do something he probably doesn't want to do, but he's going to do it anyway.
That's true.
So let's talk. Now, this was a house you guys lived in Philadelphia, correct?
Yes, this was in Huntington Valley. It was built turn of the century, and I believe we had at least two spirits in it. It was one that we saw most of the time, and then we've had a number of experiences in there.
Well, how soon after moving in did you realize there was something off about this house and that it might be haunted?
I mean, when you look at it, it looks like it just needs a bolt of lightning behind it. Like it's like the house on the haunted hill kind of deal. But it's got some vibes to it. It's interesting. One day I was bringing down a load of laundry to our laundry room, and I watched both my washer and dryer open and close. That was a fun one. We just named the spirit and started talking to him and felt like that was more appropriate. We just started calling him John, and he kind of, for the most part, left us alone. But anyway, the story that I wanted to tell today was, so my dear sisters, our dear sisters, were having a New Year's Eve party, and one sister brought a number of her friends, and another one brought a number of her friends, and everyone's having a grand old time. This is the first New Year's Eve party I was allowed to go to with them, because normally we all go away to the mountains. Not part of the story. Anyway, my sister and her then boyfriend and I decide to go shot for shot with a bottle of Patron, and the night continues, and I have quite a decent buzz on for a 17-year-old Anthony, and the cops come, basically. The alarm goes off. My sister's boyfriend attempts to cut the alarm with a steak knife, ending up cutting his hand open and slicing up and sticking blood all over the wall. The cops come, and the cops and the fire department come. Since there are a number of us who are underage, my sister Shannon, who at the time was above age, and then Jenny Lynn and I were all younger, 20 and under. We were all told to run upstairs and hide in the bedroom. So I go into one of our closets upstairs, and I'm sitting in there. It's dark, and I have a full conversation with someone who I think is another attendee of the party. I'm the first one that I just figured someone was already in the closet from when when we were told to run up and hide. This is a large closet. It's not like I'm just standing in a cloakroom. It's a very large closet. So I we could have easily hid like 7 people in this closet. But anyway, I'm the only person in there. And then I start hearing this voice saying, "What's going on?" And I relay, "Well, the cops are here and we're all supposed to be hiding out." And they're like, "How long?"
At this point, is it not confusing you? Why are you in the closet if you don't know what's going on?
Right. I had drank about a half a bottle of Patron.
Gotcha.
And this was before my formative drinking years, so I shouldn't have been doing that anyway. So they say, you know, a little drinks or other things to help you expand the mind makes it a little bit easier to see beyond the veil, or as such. And me and this voice have a conversation. Oh, they're hiding out, and they ask, "How long do you think we're going to have to stay like this?" And I said, "I'm not sure. They're going to give us an all clear," or something like that. A few minutes go by, and I hear, "I think they're gone." And I say, "Yeah, I think so too." I stand up, go to open the closet door, which again, I've just been sitting in darkness because I didn't want to give away my position. Open the door, and I say, "Hey, I think we can get out of here." And I look behind me, and no one's there. And I was just like, "Oh, okay, back to the party, I guess." That's not disconcerting at all. And
what was it like? I mean, even though you were carrying a pretty good buzz, you're in the wherewithal, your adrenaline's pumping because you're hiding from the cops in a closet.
Right.
You're carrying on a conversation. And how long do you think that?
Well, realistically, I was worried about the cops. So
right.
I was this conversation was like, it was like second track thought. It wasn't really like, yeah, I was just answering it, but I was trying to keep it brief so that we could, we weren't being caught.
Right.
And I didn't think anything of it until I stood up and opened the door and no one was in the closet with me. That was what really did it for me. And then after that, like you would always hear footsteps above, like in the upstairs. That was a 1-bedroom floor. There was a private bedroom upstairs and then 2 giant closets. And you would always hear footsteps that sounded like they're walking away from the steps towards the upstairs bathroom. You would hear, if the door was open to the downstairs and the hallway was locked, it looked like you would see a shadow walk past that just looked like someone. And I always thought that, like for the first few years, I thought it was just like, oh, I guess mom's upstairs or something. And I would run up, or I would run the check, and not so much. A friend of mine, he crashed in our living room one time, and we had light control switch that you could
dim the
lights and such.
Okay.
And he said the dimmer was flipping up and down for about an hour and a half while he was trying to sleep there, and he was just wildly uncomfortable because he just kept hearing flick, 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 flick of like, because that's just something that we used to do to that switch because it moved really easily. But he said for about an hour and a half, he heard it flicking. There was all sorts of stuff. I've had cabinets open in front of me. I've had, it was a fun house.
Did you ever actually see a spirit?
Physically see something? No, it was always sort of a interaction, kind of a ghost be the penny situation, as opposed to actually seeing the apparition.
Would you talk about this with the other siblings or
yeah,
your
absolutely,
dad
100%. This was a very well understood fact that the house was haunted. We just, as long as I talked to them, they seemed to be a benevolent spirit. We had a number of psychics come out to the house that actually told us that the house was haunted. Dad thought it was his brother Jerry at first, but the psychic told him that it's not. It's two spirits. There was a man and a woman, and I'm guessing those are the people that initially built the house. Maybe. I never actually got a finite answer on that, but it was, we just talked to them and everything seemed to be okay. Actually, after a while, it was kind of comforting. As weird to say that as that is, it's like having a pet in the house that you can't exactly see.
Would it freak out your friends, or would they come
100%, 100%. It would scare my friends. It worked out a few times too, because it would scare some of my girlfriends that weren't exactly girlfriends yet. But a number of my friends will all have their own stories of stuff they've experienced and stuff in that house. It was a lot of fun.
Very cool.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you for sharing. We will continue to bring you more stories from the extended family. Thank you, buddy. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, bud.
Well done, Tim. Thank you for doing that. I'm going to be bringing you other stories by family members as time progresses. My family's got some cool ghost stories to share, the part of the family that I've only discovered a year ago. So we'll continue to bring you some more of the weird stories. Let's get to it, Tim. I've been promising this. It's here. This I knew was a story that would intrigue you most of all, Tim. There have been an inordinate amount of monster sightings.
Okay.
Right? In the oceans. People have witnessed this. And finally, science, Tim, has blinded us with information. This comes from iflscience.com, which stands for I Flippin' Love Science. I don't even know if I need to read the article, if I should just read you the headline and leave it as there. But let me start it back in the article.
Okay.
Because I like the slower build to the reveal. Mm-hmm. For as long as there have been sailors on the ocean singing shanties and saying piratey stuff about enjoying rum, there have been sightings of strange and fantastic creatures, from krakens to sea serpents and mermaids. Reports of the kraken, a deadly, gigantic monster that had a rather inconvenient hankering for human flesh, go all the way back to 1180 when King Sverre of Norway wrote of a sea monster. Before long, sailors claimed that the beasts were the size of an island, where they attacked ships with their colossal arms, and the legend evolved, able to sink whole ships by creating gigantic whirlpools that would drag entire ships to the bottoms of the oceans. Now, this particular monster can most likely be explained by sightings of giant squids. But for other creatures, specifically sightings of sea serpents, the mystery can't be solved without taking a good look, Tim, at the most likely candidate. Whale dicks.
What?
Whale dicks, Tim. In a famous early sighting of one such sea serpent, Danish Lutheran missionary Hans Edge wrote that on the 6th of July, 1734, he and those aboard his ship had seen a most terrible creature, resembling nothing they'd ever seen before. The monster lifted its pinky head so high that it used I'm distracted by this article. The monster lifted its pinky head so high that it seemed to be higher than the crow's nest on the main mast. The head was small and the body short and wrinkled. The unknown creature was using giant fins which propelled it through the water. Later, the sailors saw its tail as well. The monster was longer than our whole ship. In the accounts, the creatures were described as serpent-like and drawn as such. Ig Nobel Prize winner, LG Nobel Prize winner? I don't understand what this is. IG or LG Nobel Prize winner Charles Paxton took a look at this and other sightings of sea serpents back in 2005 for possible explanations of the accounts. They concluded with comparisons to modern photography and descriptions that several of the accounts were actually whale boners. And yes, we have a picture of a whale boner. You can go check it out at darknessradio.com. Click on the news, and you'll see it, Tim. I told you, sea serpents exposed. I do not lie, my friend. A more serious objection to a more serious objection to there's all these pixelated letters, I can't even read it, is that the rear of the animal was described and drawn as serpent-like. Although whales are found and can survive without flukes, serpent-like or eel-like bodies are not usually associated with the rapid thrust that would be required to rear the whole body high out of the water. He and several other authors wrote in Archives of Natural History. However, there is an alternative explanation for the serpent-like tail. Many of the large baleen whales have long snake-like penises. If the animal indeed fall on its back, then its ventral surface would have been uppermost, and if the whale was aroused, the usually retracted penis would then be visible. The penises of the North Atlantic right whale and Pacific gray whale can be at least 1.8 meters long and 1.7 meters long, respectively, and could be taken by naive witnesses as a tail or a head, Tim. But the tail was seen at one point a ship's length from the body suggests the presence of more than one male whale. two floating whales with stiffies, Tim. A separate incident that would conclusively be accounted for by big old whale erection. Sailors aboard the merchant vessel Pauline in 1875 saw a sea serpent they described as a whitish pillar. This particular serpent was seen in the midst of a pod of sperm whales, which at the time were frantic with excitement. So he was just wiggling the wares to see if there was any takers at the time, Tim. There you go. Sea serpents exposed. Darkness Radio just bringing you the science of these situations, Tim. Most sea serpents probably whale dick. There you go. Do you feel better knowing that, Tim?
So they're just airing out the goods, really.
Yeah, it's like, hey, who wants it? Since we're talking water, Tim, since we're talking water and the ocean, did a novelist predict Titanic disaster 14 years beforehand? On this date, April 10th in 1912, the RMS Titanic, not Titanic, totally different ship, departed Southampton, England for her maiden voyage to New York. As virtually everyone knows, she never reached that destination. The great ship that was deemed unsinkable struck an iceberg just a few days later and plunged to the bottom of the Atlantic less than 3 hours later with approximately two-thirds of her estimated 2,224 passengers and crew still aboard. While the details of the disaster have long since passed into common knowledge, it is surprising to many that they learned that a novel published 14 years before the Titanic sinking foreshadowed the actual event with what would be seemed an uncanny amount of accuracy. American-born Morgan Andrew Robertson first went to sea as a cabin boy at the age of 5. After a career at sea that lasted over 30 years, he turned his attention elsewhere, first to jewelry making and then to writing. Drawing upon his maritime experiences, he penned adventure stories set at sea, which were published by a popular magazine of the day, including McClure's and the Saturday Evening Post. In 1898, he published a short novel titled Futility. It told about an enormous British passenger liner that sank in April in the North Atlantic while loaded with rich and famous socialites, many of whom perished due to scarcity of lifeboats. Oh, and the fictional ship's name, Tim?
Yes.
Titan. Other similarities between Robertson's fictional account and the actual events include both the Titan and Titanic had 4 smokestacks. Both ships were driven by triple screws, propellers. Both ships were considered unsinkable. Both were the largest ships of their day. Titan, 800 feet long and 70,000 tons displacement. Titanic, 882 feet long and 52,000 tons displacement. Titan's top speed, 24 to 25 knots. Titanic's top speed, 21 to 23 knots. Was it clairvoyance, evidence of time travel, or just wild coincidence? Robertson, who died in 1915, just 3 years after Titanic's sinking, steadfastly denied any paranormal explanation, crediting instead his firsthand knowledge of the shipping business and the ability to project trends. That's pretty uncanny.
Yeah.
To say a trend. But when you name the ship Titan, it's the same length, same weight, basically all the same information. It seems that he was getting his info from somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. That's what I said. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You like that?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right, Tim. Let's go back to Australia for this next story.
Okay.
Who you gonna call? NHS priest, apparently.
Oh.
Turned Ghostbuster to banish a poltergeist from a 100-year-old psychiatric hospital. An NHS hospital has called in ghostbusting priest to rid offices of a poltergeist after worried staff reported items being moved and appearing. Workers in offices in St. Anne's Hospital, Old Building, and Poole reported to senior bosses that they had experienced several weeks of the unexplained activity. It was treated so seriously, the NHS chaplain, Reverend Mike Oates, was brought in to speak to the scared staff. Then, after reporting his findings to hospital management, the decision was taken to hold a Holy Communion service with all those affected. It proved successful, with an unexplained incident immediately stopping permanently. The ghost apparently vanishing. Details on the extraordinary paranormal intervention emerged for the first time following a Freedom of Information Act request to Dorset Healthcare University NHS Foundation Trust hospitals. Both it and Reverend Oates were unavailable for further comment, but did confirm to Mail Online the service of Holy Communion did take place. While it is not strictly called an exorcism, the idea subscribed to by some is that any type of blessing and prayer will drive those spirits away. Vicar Jason Bray, who is known for carrying out exorcisms, has a communion kit within his own ghost-busting equipment. He has spoken in the past of his work vanquishing poltergeist. St. Anne's Hospital is a psychiatric hospital located in Canford Cliffs area of Poole, Dorset. It was designed by Robert Weir Schultz and was built around 1909 and 1912 and expanded in October 2013 at the cost of £14 million. Reverend Oates has been chaplain there since 2011 and covers a number of hospitals within the trust. Recent documents show the chaplaincy has a budget of just $1,000 a year with a further grant of $900 to pay for a keyboard player. A hospital in Liverpool is included among one of the most haunted buildings in the UK. Newsham Park Hospital is a former orphanage and was even at one point opened up to ghost hunters and paranormal investigators. The Grade 2 listed building has previously been used by Medical Hospital and Mental Asylum before its 1997 closure. But until now, St. Anne's Hospital, old building, has never come up on Spirit Finder radar. The information released by the hospital said the ghostly encounter happened in 2014. They say experience over several weeks of activity in multi-occupied office movements of items, unexplained items being found. Referrals made it to Chaplain. Chaplain spent some time with the office staff listening to their accounts. It was decided in consultation with hospital management to hold a service of Holy Communion in the office and invite all those who had been affected directly or indirectly. No further experiences took place. Kind of crazy. Who are you going to call? Ghostbusters. Speaking of which, have you seen the commercial for Ghostbusters Afterlife?
I have, yeah.
Or not I wouldn't say commercial, but like a clip that shows Paul Rudd facing off against a bunch of little Stay Puft Marshmallow Men.
Yeah, yep.
It looks awesome. I can't wait for that movie to come out.
It's going to be exciting. It's been a long time coming, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Remember the TV show Ghost Whisperer, Tim?
Yes. Yep.
As a matter of fact, I think it was a week or so ago, we re-released one of the original episodes with Marianne Winkowski, who is the real Ghost Whisperer. She was the one that Jennifer Love Hewitt's character was based upon. And we've been longtime friends with Marianne. We got to get her back on the show soon.
Yeah.
the Showbiz Cheat Sheet is reporting that Ghost Whisperer had its own hauntings and ghosts behind the scenes. The idea of ghosts has intrigued people for decades. Many sites report that they have had hauntings. Graveyards and asylums tend to be popular locations for spiritual encounters, and there's even speculation whether Buckingham Palace is haunted. Even if a person does not believe in the paranormal, they still may find TV shows and movies of the genre entertaining. Ghost Whisperer deals with communicating with spirits. One cast member revealed possible real-life hauntings on set. That's right. Ghost Whisperer is a supernatural television series that first aired in 2005 on CBS. The story follows the life of Melinda Gordon, who can see and speak with ghosts. She and her family live in New York, and she owns a store called Same As It Never Was, which she runs with her best friend. The spirits visit Melinda in hopes she can relay a message or complete a task. Once Melinda does it, the ghosts can finally enter the light and rest in peace. Jennifer Love Hewitt starred as Melinda, and the role earned her 2 Saturn Awards for Best Actress on Television in 2007 and 2008. Other cast members included Aisha Taylor and David Conrad. I think our buddy Jay Moore also did a few seasons. Elizabeth Moss from The Handmaid's Tale also appeared in Ghost Whisperer. The show lasted 5 seasons, had over 100 episodes, and it ended in 2010. Wow, is that true?
Yeah.
It's been 11 years since Ghost Whisperer was on the air?
Yes, indeed, sir.
Wow.
Yeah.
While a lot of people enjoy a good ghost story, some people believe in the paranormal, and several of them have recalled personal experiences with spiritual activity. However, others remain skeptical of the possibility that ghosts roam the mortal realm. It would seem that not even production sets are safe from ghostly encounters. According to the IGN, the cast and crew of Ghost Whisperer reportedly witnessed a few hauntings while filming. Jennifer Love Hewitt revealed in an interview that some of the lights exploded. Sure, I think it's really cool and exciting that we've had all kinds of things happen. My makeup artist, we took a picture of her, and she had sort of this white film over her face. And then we took a picture of her 10 minutes later in another part of the thing, and there was nothing. And we had James Von Prague look at it, and he said, absolutely, there is a ghost attached to her. There is something about the supernatural fiction genre that attracts hauntings and other strange events to sets. Ghost Whisperer is not the only production that had something occur to its cast and crew. One of the most well-known examples is what happened to many of those people who worked on The Exorcist. The film centers around the demonic possession and exorcism of a little girl named Reagan. 9 people associated with the movie died. 2 of the actors permanently injured their backs while filming, and part of the set caught fire. Poltergeist also had spooky encounters while filming. One of the accidents included a prop malfunction. A scene in the film has a toy clown strangle the boy. The toy's mechanism failed to operate properly, and the actor allegedly got choked. Some fans believe the crew used real skeletons, which they think contributed to the curse. Before they shot scenes for The Crow, an anonymous voice message warned them not to make the film. Later, a hurricane destroyed the set, making the beginning of the disasters. Of course, we all know actor Brandon Lee died before he could finish filming. So, kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Lots of ghosty stuff happening.
Yes, indeed. In fact, there are quite a few of the episodes with Marianne Winkowski in the archives. There are a few in season 2, a few in season 3, right now on Stitcher. And she does talk quite a bit about hauntings that happened on the set of Ghost Whisperer, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, go back, scroll through, find all the old episodes, or keep watching our social media pages, because every Monday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday we post links to the old episodes so you can find them a little bit more easily. We're doing them in order. So there you go. I think the most recent one we just posted on social media was with Carl and Keith Johnson battling demons, the demonologists and paranormal investigators, and they talk about their work with Ed and Lorraine Warren as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All right. If you're into a mix of paranormal experiences, ghost stories, and laughs galore, then you're going to be happy to know that the Ghost Brothers provide all of the above. Comprised of Dalen Spratt, Jawan Mass, and Marcus Harvey, the Ghost Brothers are a best friend paranormal investigating trio in Atlanta, Georgia. The team specializes in locating and booting ghosts from homes all over the country while documenting it on their Discovery Plus show, Ghost Brothers Haunted House Guests. It must also be added that the team of ghost hunters are the only known paranormal African-American team to date in the United States. Touring the country looking for ghastly experiences isn't enough for the brothers, though. The team is adding to their paranormal portfolio with 2 new shows hitting Discovery Plus. Fright Club, which premiered on the streaming service February 9th. I'm a part of 3 of those episodes. You can go check it out. And Ghost Brothers Lights Out. That's their new program. In Fright Club, the brothers join forces with rock heir Jack Osborne, not Jock Asborn, Tim.
That's a different
Jock
guy.
Osborne. Yeah, to reveal the most mind-blowing supernatural footage caught by everyday people that they can find. They speak to the terrified eyewitnesses who captured it and get insight from psychic mediums, ufologists, cryptozoologists, and other renowned experts like Dave Schrader from the Holzer Files before deciding on each episode's nightmare clip. The three met during college at the AUC, as Dalen mentioned it, assuming they all went to HBCUs. We'd love to see it in our own sit-down. And as if ghost busting doesn't keep them busy enough, all three of them have career paths outside hunting the haunting. Dalen is an entrepreneur, fashion designer. He has a men's suit collection called Loren Spratt. And the adventurous ringleader of the group, Joanne Dalen... The ringleader, you need commas in this kind of context, Tim. Mm-hmm. And the adventurous ringleader of the group, Jawan, Dalen's fraternity brother and BFF, has a huge heart and is an Eagle Scout. And Marcus, the most spiritual member of the group, is a father and celebrity barber. Their upcoming Ghost Brothers Lights Out, Marcus and Jawan kick off the investigation by entering haunted sites. It's Marcus, Dalen, and Jawan. Without any prior knowledge of the paranormal territory they're walking into. Dalen, however, does know all the creepy history. Observing from a mission control center, Dalen guides his friends through the most active areas of the property. Going in blind, Marcus and Joanne must discover for themselves what matches up with legend and what does not. Between the Ghost Brothers 3 shows, there is sure to be something to satisfy every walk of life or afterlife. The latest addition to their scare roster is Ghost Brothers Lights Out, which is set to premiere Saturday, April 17th. So there you go. The Ghost Brothers are back. Always good guests to have on the show and great guys to work with.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Let's see here. Let's go to North Dakota, Tim. When have you ever heard me say that or thought you'd hear me say that?
Never. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Conspiracy theorists have long been claiming that alien existence on Earth is real. And the government is covering up facts about extraterrestrials to avoid public panic. To substantiate these theories, conspiracy theorists often cite examples of UFO sightings that have happened in various parts of the world. And now another mysterious UFO event has happened in North Dakota. And adding to the mystery, 2 dead cattle were also discovered near the place where the UFO sighting happened. The mysterious UFO event was recorded on a security camera, and it shows a saucer-shaped object moving across the sky. Shockingly, 2 dead cattle were also discovered near the place where the UFO appeared, and the eyewitnesses reveal that there are no farms with cows anywhere nearby. So they're just like ripping off the anus and eyes of cows and then dropping the carcasses like a McDonald's wrapper on other farmers' property?
Pretty much, yeah.
Object was caught by a motion detection on a camera mounted on top of a structure out at a remote unoccupied farmstead. Object moved from north to south, unclear how far away. Next motion event was daylight. 2 dead cows found in a tree less than a mile away. No obvious cause of death. Covered in mud. No farms with cows around for 10 miles. No reported missing cows from nearby farms have... No reported missing cows from nearby farms. Never seen anything like this out there on the cameras, says the eyewitness. After capturing the events on camera, the eyewitnesses soon handed over the clip to Mutual UFO Network, the MUFON organization that studies UFO sightings. The UFO video and subsequent events were later analyzed by self-styled alien hunter Scott C. Waring. Oh, God. On his website, Waring claimed that this event is concrete proof of alien existence and that they are messy eaters, Tim. Just dropping cows in trees.
Yep.
Dropping cows in trees. All right, our final story is here, and this is pretty cool. I don't know if you watched it this last weekend. I did. I thought it was so cool, and I might be a little biased because my good friend Cindy Kays is a part of it. But paranormal investigator claims to speak with skin suit killer Ed Gein's spirit. That's right. A paranormal investigator claims to have contacted the spirit of serial killer Ed Gein from beyond the grave. In a new documentary for Discovery Plus, Steve Shippey says he successfully communicated with the Butcher of Plainfield and the Plainfield Ghoul, who inspired films like Silence of the Lambs and Psycho. Born in 1906, Ed Gein from Plainfield, Wisconsin, was convicted of 2 murders and mutilating 9 corpses before his death in 1984. Ed Gein, the Real Psycho, began airing Friday, documenting Gein's evil murders and digging up corpses to make a skin suit, which he used to become his dead mother. Now, with the help of psychic medium Cindy Kaza, Steve Shippey sets out to ask Geen and his mother, Augusta Wilhelmine Geen, about their relationship. The documentary gains exclusive access and the first of any camera crew into Geen's property, where the gruesome evidence was first discovered. It is there where paranormal investigator duo Shippey and Kaza claim to speak to the Geens about their mother and son relationship. Shippey claims Geen tells him to put on the suit during their paranormal conversation. Shippey asks Geen if he was referring to the infamous skin suit. Yeah, the serial killer's spirit apparently responds. When the interview concludes, Shippey says, this kind of evidence is unheard of, and they get a lot of EVP and direct voice phenomena. Kaza, meanwhile, almost seeming stung after she appears to form a connection with Geen's mother, who she claims to have called her a witch. World-renowned psychic medium Cindy Kaza said in this press release, tapping into the energy of Ed Geen as he was alive and dead is going to haunt me for the rest of my life. In filming the documentary, Shippey and Kaza retraced Geen's footsteps across his hometown to hunt down the most haunted locations connected to the infamous killer and learn whether he was under his mom's spell when committing these heinous crimes. A Plainfield resident alleges that as soon as he bought a knife that Geen once owned, his animals and family members slowly began dying. Local historian Dave Bignell tells Shippey, people think this area is haunted. They see shadows that shouldn't be there. They hear screaming and wailing, mostly female. Shippey said, you'd think after having 20 years of experience investigating the paranormal would have prepared me for this case. No matter how much I had read about the man and his atrocities, I never expected to uncover what we did during our investigation. That documentary, Shock Doc, is out on Discovery Plus right now. It is Ed Geen, the Real Psycho. This Thursday night, Darkness Radio live video stream. You can tune in on our Facebook pages and on our Darkness Radio YouTube page. I'll be talking with Steve Shippey and Cindy Kaza about the investigation. They were the first investigators ever allowed on the property where the house once stood. So it was burned to the ground after Ed Geen was arrested. So there is very little that remains from that area, but the property was open to them for the first time ever. And it is a really cool, compelling, and bizarre documentary. So make sure you check it out and then tune in Thursday night for our live special where we're going to talk more in depth about the case. And that'll be available Friday as an audio podcast, or you can watch the live video streams Thursday night, 9 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern at Darkness Radio YouTube channel. Go subscribe to it now. Hit the bell so you're always reminded when those will be coming up as we do a different episode every week. All right, Tim, that's it for today. We're done with news.
Wow.
We're done with Parashare. Well, at least I am. My throat's given out. I'm tired and cranky, and it's cold sitting here in my underwear and one sock, so I'm going to go get dressed for the day.
You probably should, yeah.
All right. Thank you all for tuning in. We'll be back again tomorrow. Denise Marie is our guest psychic medium. We're going to talk about the afterlife, the in-between, and more right here on the best in paranormal talk radio. That's Tim. I'm Dave. This is Darkness Radio.